the junior senator from Pennsylvania, Senator Dave McCormick, is on the line with us. Senator, I appreciate it very much that you're joining us. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's an important time.
All right, so give us the idea of where D.C. stands when it comes to the federal shutdown. We're in day 2, right?
Yeah, I think it's unfortunately, I don't think we've made much progress on it. Here's the situation: what Republicans have proposed and voted for is a continuing resolution, which essentially keeps the government running. No additional changes. It's the existing budget, so there's no politics involved. It's the budget that was already passed by Republicans and Democrats, and this is a normal thing to do. It happened 14 times under Joe Biden, where Republicans supported a clean continuing resolution. And what's happened is the Democrats have tried to do a couple things. They've tried to roll back some of the changes, the reforms to Medicaid that we made during the Big Beautiful Bill, which would essentially allow illegal immigrants to receive those benefits. And then second, it's tried to extend some of the Obamacare health provisions. Those are issues we can debate in a normal appropriations process. But what Republicans are saying is you can't hold the government hostage. It's too disruptive. We put our military, our border patrol on furlough, not getting paid. We disrupt key services. We potentially hurt the economy. And the Democrats, I think, have gotten themselves into a cul-de-sac where the left side of their party, the very extreme left, is trying to push back on President Trump, and this is the way they're trying to do it. This is not a good idea. Senator Fetterman, our other Pennsylvania senator, a Democrat, he and I both agree it makes no sense to shut down the government. So he voted to keep the government going. And if roles were reversed and I was a Democrat or I was in the minority as a Republican, I'd vote not to shut down the government either. So I think this is bad policy. I think it's bad politics, and Republicans are going to try to keep pushing to get the government open, and so we can get back to the business of the people.
So let's take it from both sides here. Let's take it from the right for a second here and say, okay, basically it almost sounds like the Democrats don't want to recognize that there was basically a shellacking in 2024, right? Where the Republicans won the executive branch and both houses in the legislative branch. And so the big, beautiful bill was passed. And this is the priorities of the current, what the voters are thinking here. Is that a way to look at it? Is like they're basically, it's sour grapes. We want to get back all the stuff that we lost because we lost the big election?
Well, I think that's part of it. I think the Democratic Party, I'm not a political analyst here, but from a distance, it looks
you could
like
you could go on CNN, right? But yeah.
Right. But there's a very extreme left part of the party of the Democratic Party that's very unhappy with President Trump, and this is the way to try to put pressure on those policies. There's a way to do that. It's called through the appropriations process, where we have to get 60 votes to pass laws and to pass the budget. And instead, what the Democrats are trying to do is impose pain on the working people and the federal government, on the economy, and they're trying to win a messaging war to put the blame on the Republicans. And listen, here's the problem. I could show you 10 clips from the television of Chuck Schumer and the Democrats saying we should never shut down the government. We should pass this continuing resolution, and this isn't the way to do business. Of course, that was when President Biden was president, and now that President Trump's president, they're trying to use this as a way to put pressure on. And listen, here's the bottom line. We want to get through this, keep the government funded. This is only for 7 weeks, Joel, just so we can finish the appropriations process. We're not going to be blackmailed, and we want to get down to the business of of running the country and doing good for the American people and the people of our Commonwealth.
So on the left, they're saying, well, these are current benefits that were derived during COVID, and that anyone who shows up at a hospital can't be denied care, and so it's the hospitals that will be getting the short end of the stick here. What's the pushback on that? Because I keep on hearing about things like that people that make six-figure salaries are getting, cheap or almost free Obamacare. And I mean, there's a lot of layers to this thing, Senator McCormick.
Well, there are lots of layers, but I'll make 2 points. Number one, what the big beautiful bill tried to do was reform healthcare financing, particularly Medicaid, to make sure that able-bodied people would have to work, a work requirement. This is 80 hours a month, not 80 hours a week, Joel, 80 hours a month to qualify for Medicaid. That seems like a basic principle, which is people should work, and there was lots of flexibility on how they worked. It could be volunteer work, it could be education, and so forth. That was the primary or one of the primary fixes, and it basically said people that are here illegally should also not be given benefits. They're illegally in our country, and that we should endeavor to make sure that we're stopping the flow of illegal immigrants and not encouraging it with a whole set of benefits. What happened in this most recent proposal by the Democrats, the reason they won't pass the continuing resolution, they've tried to roll those reforms back, which, by the way, don't reduce the amount of money we spend on Medicaid. It just slows the growth. And then if they really cared about healthcare, do you know what else they did? They rolled back a $50 billion rural healthcare fund. And you know this, Joel, from Erie, it's across Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
One of our biggest challenges is these rural healthcare systems are going out of business. We can't find ways to provide care to people living in these rural areas. So what was in the big, beautiful bill was a rural health care plan, a fund to help support innovation to deliver high-quality health care in rural areas. So this isn't honest. When the Democrats are saying what we're really worried about is health care for poor people, what we're really worried about is health care benefits being pulled back, no, that's not what's happening here. What the Democrats are proposing would ultimately hurt rural health care. And the issue of the extension of the Obamacare, that's a legitimate issue that needs to be debated. And people have different opinions of it. I'm not sure what will happen through the normal appropriations process. What we're saying is that's not going to get decided by the Democrats putting a gun to the head of the American people and saying we're going to close down the government unless Republicans agree with an extension of those benefits. No, those benefits were adjusted dramatically during COVID, and the question is, what should those benefits look like going forward? That's what we're going to debate through the normal appropriations process, not with the threat of a government shutdown.
Talking to Senator Dave McCormick from Pennsylvania. Senator, again, crystal ball, what do you think? Is this going to be a short one? Is it necessarily need to go a couple weeks until paychecks start getting missed and TSA doesn't show up and your flights get canceled and it just kind of becomes dystopian? What are your thoughts?
Yeah. Well, I'm hopeful and cautiously optimistic that we'll find a resolution here relatively soon. The reason I think that is that I've talked to a number of Democrats. A couple called me over the weekend. I think there are some, I'd say reasonable Democrats in the Senate who don't agree with this policy and think it's bad politics. And, these are the same people that voted for clean CRs during the Biden administration.
Yeah.
So I think there's a number of people that are uncomfortable with where they are. And the question will be whether we can get 4 or 5 of them to join ranks with us. We have 3 Democrats that have voted for the clean CR, and all but 1 Republican. And if we can get 4 or 5 more Democrats, ideally 7 or 8 or 10, but if we got 4 or 5, then I think that breaks the dam, and we and then we're able to move forward.
One more question for you, Senator. Off topic a little bit, but you're a veteran. My son is a veteran. Pete Hegseth called in all of the generals and admirals to Quantico here and talked about almost like reigniting the warrior ethos in our U.S. military. What's your thoughts, again, from your perspective, about the tone that he and the president took and just all that?
Yeah, listen, I said this during the campaign, and I really believe it. I think our military is at risk of not being able to rise to meet the challenge of China. We need to continue to innovate. We need to have, a war-fighting ethos. And so the idea of bringing all the general officers together seems like a reasonable thing to me. That's, as a CEO of a big company, of course you bring the leadership together and you look them in the eye and you talk about the priorities and you have a real discussion. I thought that's a good idea, and it needs to happen periodically. I think the focus on culture is appropriate. High standards culture, a warrior's ethos. Don't get distracted with politics. Don't get distracted with a social agenda like happened under the Biden administration. We need to have our military be able to fight and win wars. That's their whole mission, to destroy the enemy. That is their entire mission, and that needs to be the focus. But honestly, Joe, we need to do a lot more than that. So I think that's a good start, but we need to be making huge changes in our military weapon capability. We're seeing in Ukraine that we're in next generation warfare with drones. We see the threat of an aggressive Russia. We see the threat of a resurgent Russia. We see the threat of China's growth with AI and autonomous vehicles. We see the nuclear capability that President Trump was able to set back for a few years in Iran. It is a dangerous world. So if all that Secretary Hegseth was talking about was culture, I'd be worried. So I think the culture, and he's not just talking about that, I think there needs to be a huge focus on next generation warfare and making sure we learn the lessons of what's happening in Ukraine, because that's where the battlefield is showing how this new technology is going to be made effective, and we need to learn from it, and our military needs to adopt. We've got a bad history of fighting the last war in American history, and I want to make sure that we don't do that again, and so there needs to be a real vision for leading the military capability forward.
I appreciate you taking the time to check in with us here in Erie. Thank you so much, Senator Dave McCormick. Can't wait till we can sit down and visit here up on State Street. I appreciate it, sir.
Yes, sir. I've been there before. I'll look forward to being there again. Thank you.
All right. Take care of yourself. Bye-bye. It is 3:47, Talk Erie, and the exclusive conversation with the senator.